Specifically to the Glitter Boom Girls Show. I'm Robbie Ann McPherson in New York.
And I'm Amy Asbury in Los Angeles.
Yay! We're having a ball today, and we're not even gonna bother with rigmarole, because this is part 2 of our Teen Idol discussion. Part 1, which you can look up on our podcast page, we covered Shaun Cassidy, who to my mind is the ultimate teen idol. And we talked a little bit about John Taylor, who he is just the eternal teen idol, let's put it that way.
Certainly. Mm-hmm.
Right? We covered George Michael, we covered Donnie and Marie, who were sort of a set, like a salt and pepper shakers.
Oh, I like that. That's
right?
Cute.
They're like
so
a
cute.
Set, teen idol, and how fantastic they were. And we did encourage everybody to look up Donnie and Marie's videos from their variety show, which ran from 75 to 79, because these kids must have just worked so hard to crank out all those shows and do all that, rehearsing. They had like ice skating stuff on there.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. Every week they had, well, not every week,
ice
but
skating.
They had, like the Solid Gold Dancers. They had like this group of ice skaters. It was
How
like ice.
funny.
All of a sudden, there's an ice show. Crazy, just crazy.
That's so funny.
Yeah, these two, they're probably the hardest working people, even to this day, in showbiz. And I guess they did retire from their Vegas residency.
Did they?
Yeah, like within the last year, I think. Yeah, we can all hear that, Amy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's Amy messing around with her. What were you doing? Wiping off your camera?
Well, guys, on my camera, there's, when you're on Skype or Zoom, there's like a little black Sharpie mark. And I tried to get it off in the middle of when Robbie was talking. So Carry on and forgive me.
Okay. So in this part 2, we're going to continue this discussion, but you brought up a really important component of the teen idol phenomenon, which is merchandising.
Which is my favorite thing. I love marketing and I love merchandising. And I just think the peak of it, in my mind, was 70s. I thought it was really fun. The teen idol marketing and merchandising was really fun because it was so corny with all those lunch boxes and sleeping bags.
Oh, yeah.
And nightgowns. It was just so corny.
Everything.
I just loved it.
Yeah, it's like they stuck these guys' faces.
So funny, yes.
If it had a surface they could stick a face on, they sold it,
Right.
And it sold. Like I can't.
It did.
I never had one, but I do recall some Shaun Cassidy pillowcases. I remember those.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And there was a doll, which
a doll.
Yeah, Karen, my bestie that I went to the show with, she presented me with a Shaun Cassidy doll for one of my birthdays.
What was it wearing? Was it wearing the
30s.
white pants?
No, the doll. You know what? He's packed away right now with my Bee Gees lunchbox.
Or did he look like a boy?
No, the doll. He looked like a boy. The doll was like a man. But it was like I think he had like a red jacket maybe. And
now be honest, did you take off his pants and try to look and see if he had like stuff down there?
No, I didn't have one when I was little. I didn't have one till I was in my 30s, and hearing myself say that as the words come out of my mouth, I'm afraid for myself. No, it's because Karen found it on eBay. And she gave it to me.
When you find something on eBay, all bets are off. It's just cute. It's like, it's nostalgia. It's fine.
Right. And it was also after I saw him at Whole Foods. So
that's an adorable present.
There was
I like that.
A logical trigger, to that whole thing. Back to the merch. So, but I'm interested in your point of view, too, here, because you were a little later, right? I'm child of the 70s, you're child of the 80s. So the 80s was a little bit different of a merch life than the 70s, you know? Different things were going on. So what Teen Idol merchandise did you actually own in the 80s?
It wasn't the same. I don't know if there was one big world marketing company that took over all of the Bee Gees and, Bay
Hasbro.
City Rollers. But it wasn't the same in the 80s. We did not have a bunch of merchandise for Madonna and I mean Duran Duran had these little pins, buttons that you put on your shirt, but I don't recall any kind of sleeping bag or lunchbox with any of those bands on it in the 80s. The last one I remember was the Bee Gees, which is I had when I was 6, which was like 1979. Um, but yeah, we didn't have the lunch boxes. Our teen idols did not have the same marketing people, and not only that, but they maybe the contracts. In my head, it's a possibility that the 70s people said, "Wait a second, we're not getting enough money," and some kind of legal thing went down. And then it was advised to these new 80s stars, do not sign the merch contracts, you get nothing, and are using your likeness. Something went
Maybe, yeah.
down.
Maybe somebody
Something went
wised
down.
up.
Somebody was, lawyers got a hold of the whole thing and said, don't sign this. So we didn't have the same machine. So it wasn't as fun.
Oh.
There was
Well,
t-shirts, there's buttons, but
well, yeah, of course the t-shirts and yeah, but see again, that's music, mostly music focused merchandise, right? Like on a Family Ties, for example. Was there a Family Ties lunchbox? I'm gonna Google
there
this right now.
might have been, but it was interesting. I think there was another company that kind of took over lunchboxes also because the tin lunchboxes went out and then these kind of rounded plastic ones came in and they were different. And the tin ones, I feel like, had not only TV shows, but they had musical acts, and they had movies, and they had Sesame Street. They had everything. But when it graduated, I'm going to say 1982, everything turned into these rounded clip lunchboxes. And that's when Garfield the cat was really big, and Strawberry Shortcake and those kind of things started coming in. And the teen idols were out as far as lunchboxes went and sleeping bags went, because all the sleeping bags suddenly were Strawberry Shortcake, Garfield, Star Wars, Superman, Spider-Man, that sort of thing.
So, okay,
Yes.
this is interesting to me because it goes back to what you said in part 1 about the aging, right? And the
Hmm.
market kind of aging out. So, I'm looking at a on eBay. There is a listing for a lot of, meaning, a group,
Hmm.
a clump, a collection of lunchboxes, like vintage lunchboxes, for
Ooh, neat.
$900.
Come on.
And you can get
All
included
right.
in this. I'm looking at the California Raisins, DuckTales, Dennis the Menace. There's a Dick Tracy one, a Bazooka bubblegum one.
These sound late 80s, early 90s, but go on.
No, but then there's an Osmonds one. Shout out. $6 Million
Oh.
Man. Oh my God. A Clash of the Titans.
Oh,
Clash
that's
of
a
the
must.
Titans. Holy
That's a
crap.
must.
Wow. A Rambo.
Okay.
Now, what kid is going to carry a Rambo lunchbox?
Oh, there's always a kid. The kid who liked,
Um,
whose older brother had an AC/DC shirt, and the kid who taught everyone curse words. That's who
but is he
carries
going to
that.
carry a lunchbox? He seems like a brown bagger to
Oh no,
me,
he's a brown bagger. Yeah,
right?
scratch
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah,
that's kind of a weird. I wonder how those
actually, you're
sold,
right.
you know?
Mm.
Oh, and HR Puff and stuff. Yeah,
Well,
but so
that's a good one.
so okay, here's what I'm thinking. Help me work through this.
Okay.
So in the 80s, you
Yes.
don't have all of these lunch boxes for teen idols because in the 80s it was no longer hip to have a lunchbox, right? In
It
the
was up until about fourth grade.
right.
So
Yeah, that's what I mean.
kindergarten, second, third, fourth. So there's about 4 years of time where you are going to carry a
Yeah,
lunchbox.
but it's skewed a little younger. Like
Yes.
in the 70s, I think you had a little more room, just a little bit of the lunchbox age, right? So in the 70s, you could get the Bee Gees lunchbox, for example. Now, the Bee Gees, while they are idols, they weren't
Certainly.
teen idols. Like, they
They were
weren't,
a very mainstream act at that point.
yeah. Yeah, and I have
Worldwide.
a Bee Gees lunchbox. It's not a teenaged, type thing. Like, it's not,
Well, just by the fact that it's a lunchbox, though,
well,
you got to be
that's kind
between
of,
1 and 8 years old.
yeah, but it was in the 70s.
Okay.
But then you go into like the 80s.
Wait, did I just say 1 and 8 years old? I meant 5 and 8 years old.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
you
go
said
on.
1 and 8 years old. But then you get into the 80s, you don't
Uh-huh.
see like, um, you know, like the Rambo lunchbox to me is the oddity. Like
That's a little
that
strange.
is odd. Like what 8-year-old who's letting their 8-year-old watch Rambo? And
Oh, everybody, every 80s parent was the worst parent. I'm sorry. Because they all, TV was brand new when they were young, and to them it was like, oh, howdy doody, and the honeymoon. Like they didn't realize that anyone would have the audacity to put out horrible things for kids. So they just let us watch everything, not knowing how awful it really was. So
yeah,
anyway,
and um they're also probably rebounding from their strict rules childhood, right? And
their
I
World
mean,
War
look at
II fathers, yes.
yeah, I mean it's Gen X. We had the 80s parents, right? And look how messed up we all came out. So
Oh, for goodness
I
sakes, yes.
yeah, I can't but the 80s was also a nutty time. I mean, look at all the craziness going on in the world and blah blah blah. So, who are our teen idols in the 80s?
So in the 80s, they were different every 2 or 3 years because there's always a new set of girls entering puberty.
Yeah, but that's a shorter cycle, I think, than in the
Hmm.
70s.
Oh,
I mean, Sean had a good 4-year run. Good 4 years.
4 year. Oh, that's pretty
Yeah, well, okay,
long.
3. No, 4
Okay,
because
so
he
I'm
was
gonna
on the
say
Hardy Boys.
1980. Teen idols were the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm gonna say.
Oh, now there's
Um,
there's a lunchbox. Oh yeah.
hmm
They had my late brother was an absolute lunatic. He
Me
loved
too.
the Dukes of Hazzard.
Me too.
Yeah.
They were teen idols. I feel like the Bo and Luke Duke were heartthrobs,
Yeah,
and
and
then it
may
went.
may I say I had an
Hmm.
opportunity to meet uh, Tom Wopat and John Schneider a couple
Hmm.
of years ago, and they are both just to this day really handsome gentlemen.
Really? Well, I
Yeah,
don't doubt
yeah,
that, of
they
course.
still got it. Okay, they're still and very nice. I mean, they were really nice to me. But
Were they
anyway,
really short and small, like all
no,
TV
oh my
stars?
God, John Schneider is a tree of a man.
I like to hear that.
He literally like I got a picture taken and and I'm standing there and I sort of like reached to just put my arm around him like in a picture pose and it was like my arm went forever, because
Hmm.
he's just this giant tree of a person. And Tom
Hmm.
He's not a short guy
It's
either.
none too shabby.
No,
That's
they
good.
were very nice and both just adorable,
I
really cute.
love that.
Yeah, and in great shape.
I love that. Well, they
Yeah.
were certainly idols, and there was merchandise on them. There was
Yeah.
merchandise. It still was kind of kissing the Bee Gees for a minute in the very beginning of the 80s. And it was Andy Gibb was kind of, and then it was like the Dallas guys. And I'm trying to think of as it went on to 82, 83. I would say Christopher, oh no, that was 70s. Christopher Reeve was kind of a heartthrob in the late 70s, early 80s. That
Was
might
he a
have been
I'm
he was a
having a lot
teen
of
though.
trouble though finding a
Teen.
teen idol.
I'm trying to think of a solo kind of an Elvis. Who was the solo? Who was a big deal was Michael Jackson.
Oh
He was a
God,
teen
what is the
idol.
matter with us? He was the teen idol in the 1980s.
Hmm.
Oh my God, we're so dumb.
I'm gonna
We're
say Michael Jackson, 80, Thriller. That
yeah.
was
Oh, he
major,
was the
major,
living
major.
end. I don't recall Michael Jackson lunchboxes, but I'm figuring they were out there,
I don't
right?
either. And then of course Madonna was strangely an idol for a lot of girls. She was
Right.
teen idol. It wasn't a crush. I mean, it kind of was,
I was a big Madonna wannabe.
but
Oh
I
my
was
God.
10, and Madonna hit me like that. Like, wow. But there wasn't a lunchbox or a sleeping bag of her, but it was that was a teen idol to us. She wasn't a
Didn't
teen, she was 20 something, but
okay, I'm looking at Michael Jackson Lunchbox and oh oh dear.
mm,
I do find a Michael Jackson Bad, the album cover, an insulated, the poofy bag kind. So maybe
no.
maybe that's what we're dealing with is the tin lunchbox was just out of style.
The,
So
du- the death of the tin lunchbox or whatever company or distributor that was kind of the end of a lot of that whole contract. And then I honestly think it had to do with legalities. I honestly think that
yeah.
somebody realized, wait a second, they're still selling a doll of me and I don't see one penny.
Right, right.
I honestly think that's what
Yeah,
happened.
and I get the feeling that Michael Jackson probably had some pretty severe control over his image and things like that once he became an adult.
He
Oh,
had a
there's
good legal team.
yeah. I'm trying to find. I don't know. I mean, do we think John Bon Jovi, was a teen idol in the '80s?
I do, but that wasn't, it was 1986 when You Give Love a Bad Name. And I think there was a ton of, I will say, the rise of the poster came back
Oh
when Bon
yeah.
Jovi, because my sister had this door length. It was so embarrassing, actually. He had this giant bulge, and she was 12, and it was on the back of her door. It was man size.
So he was like an older teen idol. It's the Paul
He was a
Stanley
grown
effect.
ass man,
Yeah,
and it
he was
was
a
kind of
man.
awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward, but he had the posters, and that was big, those posters of him. Did
Yeah,
you have
I
posters on
had
your wall?
oh hells yeah. I
So what were your
still in
posters?
my media room right now
I love that you have
hanging.
a media room. That's so
Yeah.
chic.
It sounds crazy, but it's just an alcove with my big TV.
An
But
alcove. I
in
like that
my
word.
in my media room, I have a black velvet vintage poster of Andy Gibb. And
Oh,
I also have a vintage poster of Sean that's the same poster that used to be hanging in my room when I was a little kid.
I like that you're on a first name basis since you
Um,
saw Whole Foods.
yeah,
You're like
since we
Sean.
go way back. Yeah, and I also have a poster of a lesser known
Hmm.
teen idol, Clinton Spilsbury, who was the Lone Ranger in the Legend of the Lone Ranger, which was a much derided movie that came out in I think it was 1980. And
What was it about that certain gentleman that caused you to want a poster?
oh my God,
What did he look like?
Google him. He is
What,
stunning,
describe him. Describe him.
beautiful. He very tall, blue eyes, chiseled jaw. He looks like the Lone Ranger. He's the Lone Ranger.
The Little Ranger has a freaking mask on, doesn't he?
Well, but the movie tells the story of how he became the Lone Ranger. And
Okay, so he's tall. Now it's the 70s or 80s. So what was his, did he have feathered hair or did they actually give him short hair?
he had short hair. The movie was of course set in,
I know, but you know how they
cowboy
still
times.
kept their hair, like Clash of the Titans still
No, they
had that
didn't do
70s
that.
hair.
They didn't do that.
Even Little House on the Prairie, it's supposed to be, the gold rush days, and they have like this Vidal Sassoon cut, circle cut, in a bowl cut. Wait, so and Dorothy Hamill cuts. So what was his name again? That's not a very movie star name.
Clinton Spilsbury. Well,
Okay, that's nice. Sorry,
Clinton's
Clinton.
legend, no pun intended. He made this movie, and it was
Okay,
his only starring role, and he was so vilified over
why?
the movie. Everybody hated it. I don't really know why. I mean,
Was there a beloved version before it that was just a beloved
well, there was
classic?
Clayton Moore, the TV Lone Ranger, and
Oh,
he was to most people, and the producers of the film in 1980 whatever, they inexplicably decided to ban Clayton Moore from going around to like Comic Cons and stuff and wearing the mask.
It's kind of
which of course
drastic.
it just pissed everybody off, everybody that was a fan. So people were kind of
Mm.
out for blood anyway. Now, I was 11, 12 when the movie came out, and
Oh, no wonder.
I was really into horses, and I loved the idea of silver, and and this whole thing. And I also loved just the whole Lone Ranger. If you've ever read the Lone Ranger's Creed,
I
it's
can't
just
say that I have.
it's really cool. I'm gonna
You
Google
do
it
love
while you're talking.
horses. That's so
I
70s of you, by
do.
the way.
I love horses, and I love teen idols. But I didn't think the movie was so bad. I mean,
But you
it's
were 11. What did you
no,
know?
I watch it now. I own it
Oh,
now.
you watch it
Like
now. Look at you.
literally, I watched
All right,
it
so
when I got my giant TV. It was the first movie I put on. You know, it was number 2, Xanadu. So
of
that's
course.
where my movie taste
All
lie.
right. So what other posters did you have in your room when you were like, so how young were you when you first put up a poster or asked to?
Well, Sean was probably the first
So
poster.
10. You were
Yeah,
10,
then I had a poster of Andy Gibb. I
of
had
course.
a Star Wars poster. Um, that was, I think, and then I would hang up the little foldouts from Tiger
Right.
Beat. So, various and sundry little,
Now, did you
pictures.
go to the grocery store with your mother?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
So you
went.
would go with her and then say, "Can I buy this magazine?"
Oh, yeah, yeah. And there was
Got it.
no, you could not deny me my Tiger Beat.
Okay.
And I think I had a subscription to
Mm. What was the other one called? There
Tiger
was
Beat
Tiger Beat.
Star.
What was it?
There was Tiger Beat and Tiger Beat Star.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Must have been more posters.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference was. I had a subscription to one of them. Um,
Okay.
but in the 80s,
Was
see,
Bop out then?
what's Bop?
Oh, it was one of those Tiger Beat magazines we had.
Oh, oh, I never knew about Bop.
And even Bon Jovi was in Bop. Like I think
Probably much against his
it's
wishes.
still going on. It's still out there. Duran Duran, you know.
Yeah,
Okay, so
they
you
were big on
you
posters. In the 80s, I had Michael Jackson. I had
hmm
like 3 Michael Jackson posters
Okay,
because
so let me
I
ask you this.
was
Did
flipping
you
in
have the
love with him.
white where it's the white background and he's wearing the yellow vest and the yellow bow tie?
Yeah,
That was one of the
yeah, and
posters.
there's like a jewel on it, like he's got like a
Uh-huh.
jewel pin. Yeah, I had that one. I had a Thriller, like album
Yeah.
cover type one, and then I
Mhm.
had some other smaller one that I probably pulled out of a magazine or something.
What do you
Um,
think was the best Michael? I liked him in Billie Jean the best. Billie Jean.
you know, I I can't even answer that because it's so tied to the music for me, and
When did you first get that feeling like, wow, this guy is wow? I was 9 and I saw Billie Jean. And when I first heard that bass line, that do 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 do, I was
yeah,
like eating
oh,
corn nuts and
great
I just
bass
like
line. That album is
I dropped my corn nut. I was like,
sick.
what am I hearing?
Yeah, that was just a beautiful work of art, that whole record. And so was Off the Wall. I think if I
Don't
had to
stop till you're
pick
getting up. That was a great one.
living off the
I
wall.
feel like roller skating
Dun,
backwards
dun,
when I hear
dun,
that.
dun,
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 dun.
dun, dun, dun.
See, I mean, the music is just I thought he was the most handsome during his Off the Wall phase.
Mhm,
That's when I had thought he was the most beautiful.
mhm.
And then he really started to change his appearance
Yes.
with Thriller. I thought he was still really beautiful and handsome, but something
Mhm.
turned, like with Bad. Like, I don't know, he went a little
I
too
was
far with the plastic surgery, and
I was so fickle. As
his
soon as Bad hit, I was out. I jumped
yeah, there
ship.
was
I was over
something.
it.
I loved the album, but
I did.
I didn't think it was as inspired as Thriller or Off the Wall were, and he just, I don't know, there was something um almost sinister or something weird that
There was
started
an
to,
undertone.
yeah, and I can't put my
I
finger on it, I
didn't
never
like
will,
it.
but um
I did like Beat It. I thought he looked adorable in Beat It with his little the video I'm talking,
yeah.
the videos
Oh,
of those
and
two songs.
Thriller, he looked hot in Thriller.
I don't I liked it the least, but I did like Beat It and Billie Jean.
Yeah, Beat It, I think Beat It's probably my favorite song on that album. I love
Great
that.
song.
Yeah, R.I.P. Eddie Van Halen. What a
Oh,
drag.
Eddie.
He ripped that solo. That was so cool.
So cool.
Yeah, and he kind of reinvented the song a little bit too. Like he took out a section or something, and I just I love music. I can talk about it all day. But anyway, so back to 80s teen idols. So
Hmm.
what we're looking at here is I think we kind of have a realization
Hmm.
that the like what new kids on the block were they the ones appealing to the real young girls, like were they the
No,
Sean Cassidy of the 80s?
all the way to they were major. I was 16 when they came out, so I was into hair bands, Poison, and all that. So I was a little past them. But I remember going down to Hollywood with my friend Tamar, and at the Bellage Hotel on Sunset, it was a giant, massive crowd of girls our age. New Kids were staying there, and it
Really?
was wild. So New Kids was the craziest, and I can't really speak on it. Although I did think Jordan, I was like, well, maybe I might not turn down Jordan if it came down to it. But they were major, major, major boy band,
Yeah.
you all know. And that was, I'd say, 89, 88, 89, 90.
And what about like Belle Biv DeVoe and New Edition? There was
Oh, they
sort
were
of
great. They
yeah,
were
there was like a
great.
boy band movement. And I think a lot
New
of the
Edition was so great.
yeah, like the
So, so
younger girls,
cute.
I think they were into that. I mean, as you and I have talked about, of course, the older, I mean, to me, if I was 10 and I saw like some 16-year-old tart hanging around Sean's dressing room, I would have been like, oh, but
Right,
um,
right.
I can't imagine that there weren't. so, I'm not surprised that New Kids had an older
I mean,
audience.
there was all ages, but yeah, they were, well, high school. I mean, we were 16. We were a little too young to be going down there anyway. But yeah, 15, 16, and also a lot of 10-year-olds. I mean, a whole bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always, I think every couple of years, there's always a teen idol because there's always somebody coming of age to purchase the merchandise and the music. So it's always a good business decision if you do it right. But and I do think that that was the next doll that came out was the New Kids on the Block actually did have a doll line. So I feel
Did
like, well, we
they?
hadn't seen that. There was dolls of New Kids on the Block, yes. And also of Beverly Hills 90210. That's getting into the 90s, but those are really major teen idols that had the merchandising and the marketing of the things we had seen in the 70s. It kind of skipped to that point where there was the dolls again and the lunchboxes again. But it kind
Yeah,
of
I
skipped
bet
the
there
80s.
was a New Kids on the Block lunchbox. In
They
fact,
were the return of the major, 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 major merch.
yeah.
So
Well,
there was a
yeah,
whole gap.
they had that crazy manager, right?
They
That
had the crazy
manager
manager.
that he was like, I mean, he just monetized every inch of those poor boys, right? And well, poor
I,
boys. I mean, they
and
probably
that's in sync. I can't remember if that might be Lou Pearlman,
oh,
but
yeah, yeah, you're right. You're
that's 10
right.
years after.
I'm sorry. I'm mixing up
However,
my boy bands.
there was a gap of about 10 years, but I will say New Kids on the Block are the return of major, major merchandising, even crazier than we had seen in the 70s. Like everything.
So, just for the heck of it, I Googled teen idols of the 80s, right, to see who we were
Okay.
forgetting.
Run them by me. I'll
And
tell you
there's a
what I
couple
think.
here. Okay. Kirk Cameron,
Big, very
right?
big.
Huge, huge, adorable. Oh my God, what an adorable. And then here's one that
Mm,
I think, frankly, I think he's in the John Taylor category.
really?
I
Who?
think he's the eternal teen idol, Rob Lowe.
He was too pretty. Like I was like, I felt
No! Oh
about
my
him as I
God,
feel
no!
about I felt this way about Brad Pitt. It's just I, I just had no interest. My sister had a poster of him with his sax from St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, Billy. Yeah, this list mentions the Brat
The
Pack.
Outsiders, that whole cast was they were all over the magazines. It was Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze was a big one. C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio, even Tom Cruise was in that, but he was not yet well known. And Rob Lowe, I'd say every girl I knew, Rob Lowe was the hottest, 80s guy or He was definitely,
Well, he was like the prototype, I
he was a
think.
pretty boy. He was
Yeah,
really,
he was
really
like
pretty.
born to be a teen idol, right? Like,
Super beautiful. Yes.
yeah. Okay, so they're also trying to tell me that Johnny Depp was the 80s teen idol, which I think
A
is
little bit
true.
later, and yes, I'd
You
say
know,
88,
20
89.
21 Jump Street, yeah, that whole
Yes.
era. Oh, Amy, we're fired.
Who?
We
Who?
forgot about the Karate Kid, Ralph
No, I said
Macchio.
Ralph Macchio just now. Ralph Macchio.
Oh,
He
you
was kind
did?
of
Oh, I didn't hear
skinny.
you.
He wasn't like some major, major teen idol. He was in The Outsiders. He was cute, you
Yeah,
know.
but I mean, the Karate Kid, that was
It was big,
huge.
but it was also big
Yeah.
with boys. So it wasn't like he was a singing guy. You know, it
Right.
was
Again, not the music.
not
Yeah,
the
the
music, but
music
it
makes a
was
difference.
a giant movie for both boys and girls. And they admired him for his bravery. It wasn't just like he was cute and sexy. It was kind of a bigger thing.
What in the heck were the parents thinking when the Beatles hit? Like, because they were really the first kind of, rock band, and they were the first where people were really packaging these guys and pushing them out there and stuff, and giving them these identities. It must have been so weird for parents in 1964, like sitting there watching Ed Sullivan going, what the hell is this?
Was it though? I feel like people have got to remember what it felt like to be young and just be excited about the opposite or the same gender.
Well, I agree with that, but rock and roll was new,
Oh,
right?
it just seems so
Like,
dangerous.
yeah. I mean, they're banning Elvis from shaking his hips, and I think we gotta throw some props to him. I mean, he was the first teen idol, right?
I
You
think
know,
so.
screaming girls and all that, and then the Beatles, and then the Dirty Rolling Stones. They were the bad boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Aim, we're out of time
Yeah.
again. We spent 2 whole sessions yapping about teen idols.
I feel like we fleshed it out. I'm glad we discussed it. I
Yeah.
feel like I've been set straight and I feel very satisfied.
So, I guess that's it for the teen idols, at least for now, until we figure out something else we want to
Well,
talk
I love
about. But
talking about it and I'm glad we had the discussion and
me
thank you
too.
everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for listening. We so love that you come along for this ride. And if you have something you want to hear us yammer about, I can't imagine.
I love that
But
word yammer.
yammer. If if you want to, or if you want to put your own 2 cents in, look us up on Twitter. It's Glitter Bee Girls. We really love you guys. We appreciate you listening. And you want to say goodbye, Aim?
Goodbye and thank you for joining us.